everyone. Today we're going to be doing 12.2, congruent polygons. And this lesson hopefully will be kind of quick for you. All right, this is just a cool picture I saw where it starts with a triangle, then goes to a square, then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sided figures. Anyway, that was kind of a fun picture. Okay. Whoop. All right. So your book actually, of course, explains all of this, but it's kind of complicated. So hopefully I summarized and made it a little bit easier. This is one of those things in math where it seems really obvious, but we have to kind of break it down and look at that. So, okay. So if two polygons are congruent, remember what congruent means? They have the same measurement. Okay? Then all their sides and angles are also congruent to each other. Okay? The sides and angles that are the same are called corresponding parts. All right, so for example, here we have a triangle ABC, and we can see how each angle is different. Okay? And I think you guys have done that before where you kind of have these marks. This shows an angle, and this has two arcs, and it shows that the angle is different than this one, and this is a different measurement. So all three of these angles have different measurements, and all three of these sides have different measurements. But when I come over here, I notice that the markings are the same as the markings in this triangle. So these two triangles are actually congruent, but their corresponding parts are angle A is congruent to angle D. Angle C is congruent to angle F, B to E, okay? Side BC is congruent to side EF, BA, with the two marks, okay, is congruent to DE, etc. So let's look at this just a little bit more carefully. Okay, so the way that these are written, when you have corresponding angles, angle A just has the one line, and so does angle D. So angle A is congruent to angle D. Angle B and angle E both have the two, and we went over this in the earlier slide a little bit. But angle B is congruent to angle A, and angle C is congruent to angle F. Okay? These statements right here are called congruent statements. So when they ask you for these things on the homework, they're going to ask for congruence statements, and this is what they're looking for. So these are congruent statements for corresponding angles, all right? Now, when we go to corresponding sides, and this is what I also showed you before, AB is congruent to DE, and so on, BC to EF, AC to DF. And they're color-coded too, because A corresponds to D and B to E, etc. Okay? So if I were to take this triangle, okay, and flip it like this, and come over here, so take it, flip it, move it over, I would have these triangles right on top of each other, and they would equal each other perfectly. Okay, one thing to know though, this is also congruent statements about how the whole triangle is congruent to this whole triangle, but you need to make sure that they match up. For example, A and D match up, right? They both have the 1. B and E, C and F. And so the order does matter how you write these congruent statements. Okay, so for example, I could also call this triangle BCA, but it's, excuse me, I'm having a hard time today. Okay, but it's congruent to EFD, so I'm going in the same order. So I started with B, that has the 3 lines, it goes to E, that has the 3 lines, and so forth. Okay, so ABC is not congruent to EFD. All right, So let's look at an example right here. They want us to write a congruent statement for the triangles and identify all pairs of congruent corresponding parts. So if we're writing to show that these triangles are congruent, I could say triangle, and let's go LJK. I know it's not in alphabetical order, but that's what I want to do. LJK is congruent to triangle. Well, my L has the one line. It corresponds to R. So that's R. J corresponds to T. And K corresponds to S. Okay? I could also write this triangle, let's see, JKL, that's in alphabetical order, and that would go to, let's see, J goes to T, K goes to S, and L goes to R. Like that. Okay? All right. Now we want to identify all pairs of congruent corresponding parts. Okay, so let's say here we've got this one, let's do sides first. We've got this line right here and this one, and it's going from the angle with 2 marks to the angle with 3 marks. So we've got to go this way and this way. So we've got JK is congruent to TS. Okay, then let's do this one. This one we're going to the angle with 3 to the angle with 1. So that's going to be the angle with 3 to the angle with 1. So we've got KL is congruent to SR. Forgot my little, didn't do the congruent statement correctly. Okay, so JK, KL, lastly we have LJ. And LJ goes from 1 to 2. Okay, so we've got 1 to 2, so that would be RT. Okay, and then the angles, we have angle L is congruent to angle R, right? Because of 1 and 1. We've got angle J is congruent to angle T. And we have angle K is congruent to angle S. All right, we'll do the next example in the next video.